Hi, welcome to 90% Knitting. This is episode 309. I'm Lisa, also known as Fiber Nymph, across most of social media. And today is Thursday, March 28th, 2019. How are ya? I hope you're having a good week. I'll tell you, I wasn't actually planning to record today. I was going to wait and do it tomorrow morning. But then what I had to do earlier today ended up taking me way longer than I thought it was going to, which left me with not enough time to go downstairs and start a dyeing session. So I thought, okay, instead I will record. So I think I have everything together to show you. Yeah, we're just going to go with it and see how we end up. I will say I've already posted my anniversary update shop update preview video. I did that earlier today. It wasn't even a video, it was one of my slideshows. It's already up on YouTube, so if you're interested in what's going to be going up into the shop update tomorrow, which is Friday the 29th at 6 p.m., you can look for that video. It's only like a minute and a half long. I will be showing you a few things here a little bit later, but that's up there if you want a really just quick glimpse at it too. So I'll tell you that. Let's see, what else? I think we're just going to get straight into the knitting. And I've got finished objects for you. And the first thing to share with you, I'm wearing. I finished my sweater. I'm so excited. My Serendipitously Fading Pullover, which isn't super serendipitous because I ended up dyeing so much more yarn for it in the end, but it worked out great. I finished it, I think, maybe the day after I recorded last time, and I probably wore it like for 3 days straight after that. I just love it so much. It's super comfortable, it's warm, it's cozy, it fits perfectly. Rather than me sitting here in this chair trying to explain to you everything I did record a video already that I'm going to stick in here at this point. I was standing up and better able to show you things. And I basically talked you through a thumbnail version of the whole story of this sweater. So it's about, I don't know, 9 minutes long. I may edit it down a little bit, but if you'd like to see and hear the whole story of this sweater, watch that. Otherwise, you can just skip ahead and we'll get on with the rest of the finished objects. Okay, I thought this would make this a little bit easier than me sitting in the chair there and trying to explain this to you. We'll see how it goes. It feels weird to be this far away from the camera, but I have to be for you to see the whole sweater. Okay, so this is my Serendipitously Fading Pullover, which ended up not being quite so serendipitous because I had to dye more yarn for it. But I'm just going to try to give you a quick synopsis of this whole project, which I've been working on now for a couple of months. The origin of this was I had a whole bunch of one-of-a-kind skeins that just serendipitously seemed like they would go together. So it was this Merlot color up here. I'll get closer. The Merlot, and then this crazy variegated, just sort of a big speckled skein that I had made with leftover dye at the end of one dye session. And then there had been a brown and a series of lighter grays. That was going to be my progression. When I got down to here, I did put the brown in, and I really liked how it looked, but the brown into the grays looked terrible. So I ripped the grays out, and then I dyed some more yarn thinking I could blend from that brown into a more muted Merlot, which is what I ended up doing here, but I could never get the brown to go into the Merlot right. It just looked very off. So I ended up ripping the brown out altogether and just did this series of these three other Merlot shades, which is a muted Merlot from this one. So that looks a little different, but really if you look at this to this, and this to this, they do go really well. And I'm pointing at my boobs, I realize, but that's where the blending happened. So I'm very happy with how this turned out. Would I be happier if this color maybe was a little closer to these three? Probably, but I really like how this turned out. So I'm not sweating it. And in the end, I did end up using a couple of skeins of yarn, and I now have extra skeins of yarn. But again, not a big deal. So I knew I wanted to do a fade. I knew I was not going to do the Andrea Mowry pattern. I wasn't crazy about that pattern in general for my body. It's a nice pattern, but I just didn't like it for my body, and I didn't want to have to morph it too much. So I searched online and I found a pattern by Jane Richmond called Ladies Classic Raglan Pullover, which was perfect. That's exactly what I needed. And I was basically just using it as a guide. I cast on using that pattern just to know how to cast on how many up here and to work through the decreases and to get to the underarms. Once I took the arm stitches off and was just working the round, I just did my own thing after that. I never looked at the pattern again because I've knit enough sweaters to know basically what needs to happen. And that worked fine. But that Jane Richmond pattern worked wonderfully just to get me set up here. And this fits very, very well, incidentally. Okay, so I knit the sweater down. I really didn't have any rhyme or reason for doing, well, that's not true. I was basically saving 30% of each skein of yarn to apply to the sleeves, except for this top one. I think I only saved maybe 20 grams because I knew I was just going to have to do my neckband and not any sleeve with that color. I picked 30% just because in general, when you're factoring yarn for a sweater, they generally say that 30% of your yarn goes to your sleeves. In reality, I probably needed a bit more because as you can see, I did not end up with full-length sleeves. I got 3/4 length sleeves, but I'm happy with them and I like them, so I'm good with it. But if you were going to do this, I would say probably allow yourself maybe 35% or maybe even 40% to do your sleeves, because I did use up pretty much all of my yarn from these 5 skeins of yarn that I used. I had like a little ball, I forget, it was maybe 13 grams, maybe not even 13 grams left of this color because I didn't need very much for my neckband, but I'll get to that in a minute. So you saw this already with the body finished, and I had one sleeve done, I think, and I was going to work on the second sleeve. Let me talk you through what I did with the sleeve. I know I mentioned it last time, but I'll just go over it again real quick. When I had done my first sleeve originally, I put I had all my sleeve stitches on the needles, and then I picked up 1 stitch for every column of stitches here, plus 2 on either side to make up for the gap that you end up with. I did that. I was doing traditional decreases like every 5 rounds, well, 2, a set of decreases down my sleeve about every 5 rounds. And when I got to the point where I was running out of yarn, I tried it on and it was just so big and baggy, I knew that was not going to work. So I ended up ripping the whole sleeve back out, back up to the original stitches, put those back on the needles. And I picked up, but I picked up half as many stitches under the arm essentially. And then I knit around. And then I started doing decreases again, but I worked them from the outside. I don't know if you can see here, right about here. This is where I started my decreases. So I did a decrease here and then on the other side. So basically from those very outside picked up stitches, I worked my way in towards the middle of the armpit. And that yielded this little triangle that you see here, which someone commented on the video last week, made an armpit gusset or an underarm gusset, and I laughed and I'm like, yeah, kind of. And then I looked it up and that's actually a thing. Underarm gussets are a thing in sewing. I couldn't find any reference to them in knitting patterns, but in sewing patterns, that is actually a thing, and it basically is something I think that you insert into your sewing to give your underarm more room. It's meant for tighter fitting sleeves that will allow the wearer to have more range of motion within their clothes. So that's pretty cool. In this case, I was doing this little gusset here to take out fabric. I just thought that was very interesting. I don't know, it could very well be a thing in other knitting patterns. I've never seen it, but that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. What it did end up doing though is it made my sleeve much nicer fitting, and it took out all this extra fabric that I was going to have here, because when I did that original sleeve I had a whole bunch of extra fabric up here in the front of the boob underarm area, and also in the back. I still have a little in the back, but that's probably because I don't have boobs in my back, but not very much. I'm very happy with how these sleeves fit. So anyway, I did the sleeves. I did my 3x1 ribbing on the bottom of the sleeves as well as on the bottom of the sweater. which was not what the original pattern called for. It was just what I wanted to do. And then I did fade in the yarn on the sleeves a lot more than I did on the body. On the body, I think I did just 5 rounds of fading, like alternating the colors. The sleeves, I did a lot more because I didn't really have a good formula down and I was just winging it. But it turned out fine, and I think they look pretty even. This one has a little bit less of this darkest color than this one, but it's fine. And then so that just left my neckline, and I liked my neckline the way it was, just trying it on. It was just the right size. I knew I didn't want to do anything that would bring it in really tight. So my first try at the neckline, first of all, I picked up stitches. I can't even tell you how many I picked up. I didn't count. I basically I picked up 1 for 1 essentially, I think, maybe a few less. But I picked those up and I tried doing an I-cord bind off first. And as soon as I started doing that, I got about 2 inches into it and I realized that wasn't going to work well because it was just going to roll outwards and it would have seen that pickup ridge there on the outside. So I tore that out and I picked that up. I didn't pick it up again. The stitches were still in there. And I just did 2x2 ribbing. I didn't want to do the 3x1 because it does do this little bit of a curl on the stockinette part, and I didn't want that. 2x2 sits a little flatter. So that's all I did. I did very little of it. That's not even an inch of ribbing up there. And then I bound off, loosely enough to not make it tight, and it's perfect. I'm so happy with this sweater. It fits really well. It's comfortable. I have worn it probably, I don't know how many days since I finished it. So hopefully that gives you the overview of this sweater. And I could actually make another 10 of these because I love this one so much. All right, so sweater, it's done. I have cast on another sweater, which I'm going to tell you about in just a little bit. But let's finish with the finished objects first. I've got socks to show you. So I think I showed you, I can't remember now. I think I showed you last week that I had one of these socks done, maybe. I think it was finished. I have them both done now. So this is the second of my 2 8th anniversary colorways for this year. This one's called Positivity. And this was the first one that you already saw, which is called Inspiration. So these were already finished. You already saw them. This one, this is on the Mountain Tweed base, my fingering weight Mountain Tweed base. Just plain vanilla sock, 2x2, nope, 2x1 ribbing. 2x2 ribbing. Sorry. I get them mixed up sometimes because all I can see is the 2 on the outside. 2x2 ribbing, plain vanilla sock, afterthought heel. These are a little roomier than these, even though I did them on the same stitch count. So I'm not sure why, and with the same needles. At least I think I did them on the same needles. I may have done these on 0s and these on 1s. Actually, now that I think about it, I'm not 100% sure. It's probably in my project pages on Ravelry, so you can check that. Anyway, they're done, and I don't have much more to say about them. I did talk about them a little bit last week, the inspiration for them, and I will have that information also in the shop listings. But I have, and again, this is sort of overlapping into shop news now, but I have both of these colorways dyed up on a ton of different bases for the shop update tomorrow. So hopefully you'll be able to find one that you like. So those are finished socks. And then, where are they? I have one more pair of finished socks. I finished my Pie a la Mode socks, and they're not on blockers because all my blockers are being taken up with the other socks right now. But this was from my Pie Day update, which was my new Pie colorway. The striping pattern goes according to the digits in the number Pi. And it's ice cream themed this time, so we have vanilla, French vanilla, mint chocolate chip with the little brown chocolate chip speckles, cinnamon, strawberry, and butter pecan with the little reddish brown pecan speckles in it. So you don't get matching socks because Pie does not repeat, but you get fun socks, and I really love this colorway. It's sort of on the edge of being pastel-y, but it's not super pastel. because I'm not much of a pastel fan, but I really do love these colors, and I think they're really nice and springy, and they just make me happy. So I have these done. I did these on my Traveler sport weight base, and it's funny because ordinarily I would knit those on 2.5s, US 2.5s, but when I first got needles out to do them, I pulled out 1.5s, and I thought, oh no, that's not right. I usually do 2.5s with 48 stitches, and so I was going to get out the other needles, but then I sat everything down and I went and did something else for a while. Then when I came back and decided to cast on, I just picked up the needles that were there and started casting on, but I cast on 48 stitches, and I was into the cuff a bit before I realized, oh, this is looking a little small, and I realized what I did. But in the end, this actually turns out to fit me very well. And I think maybe the 1.5s are probably even a better needle size for me to use for sport weight yarn with 48 stitches as opposed to 56, which is what I think I would have gone up to had I realized I was using the 1.5s. I think they would have ended up kind of big. But this is a nice dense fabric, but not too dense. It's not bulletproof. It stays up on my leg really nice. The only issue I have is when I put them on, because they stretch widthwise so much, it kind of shortens them lengthwise a bit. So my 9-inch foot, which usually fits me fine, kind of shrinks up a little bit, and it wants to pull the heel down under my foot a little bit. I think if I would have done them like 9.5 inches, that would have been absolutely perfect. So that's actually good to know, because I plan to make myself some sport weight socks here coming up soon. I want to do some shorty socks. I need shorty socks. I have no shorty socks right now that I'm wearing. I have some that are show samples, but that's it. And it's getting warm enough now. I want shorter socks because I don't need all the wool up on my legs, but I like my feet to still be warm at night. So I think shorty sport weight socks would be really good for that. But now I know to just use the smaller needles for a better fit, but make the sock a little bit longer. So that's that. So that is 3 pair of socks that I knit inside of a month. 3 complete pairs, because I cast on the first inspiration sock when I was at my mom's on February 26th, and I bound off the last pie a la mode sock on March 26th, and I had finished the other ones in between. So that's pretty impressive. I mean, even for me, and I love to knit socks, but that's a lot of socks inside of a month. Okay, let's see. Anything else? Oh, yes, I have one more finished object. I've been busy since I saw you last. I finished my cable crush cowl. I'm trying to decide which way it goes. It goes this way. Here's my cable crush cowl, which, did I show this to you last time? I don't think I did. I don't remember now. Maybe this was done last time. I don't think it was, though. Now I'm totally, I don't know. Anyway, it is finished. This is my Slay the Stash project for, no, I didn't finish. I finished this week because I finished it one night. I couldn't go to sleep. It was Sunday night. I was having trouble falling asleep, and rather than keep my husband awake, I came out here and I sat for like 3 hours and I just banged through this. So you did not see it yet. Anyway, this is my Slay the Stash project for March. Slay the Stash is a challenge kind of thing that Jen from the Downseller Studio podcast does every month, where you declare a skein of stash yarn that you're going to use up in that month, and you have to use all but like 3 yards, up to 3 yards you can have left over, I think. So anyway, this was some 3 Irish Girls yarn that I had in my stash since 2007 when I was in their Pick of the Knitter Club, and I used it. It's their Linden Merino, which is an Aran weight base. The pattern is the Cable Crush Cowl by Caryl Pierre. It's beautiful cowl. The variegation on this yarn kind of did this diagonal, I don't know, pooling, striping kind of effect, which makes it a little hard to focus on the cable, but the cable is very pretty. I really love that detail. And it's got these other interesting motifs going down the side. Then there's this here, and then you've got this wrapped segment here. It's just a very unique pattern, and I really like it. I screwed up one place in my cable right here. I did not do my cross correctly. It should look like that. I didn't realize it though till I was about up here and I was past the next cable that I would have had to have dropped down a whole bunch of stitches including a cable, and I wasn't going to do that. Remember, I said it was late at night too when I realized that. So it's fine. You can only see one half of it at a time because if I wear it, it'll have that in the back and this will be in the front. It is a very dense fabric. It stands up by itself, but it's nice because it stands up to here, so it will definitely keep my face warm. I'm not going to put it on right now because it'll totally mess my hair up, and my hair is doing weird things today anyway. So, Cable Crush Cowl is finished. So that's a lot of finished objects for 1 week. And in light of that, I really have not knit very much else, except I did cast on my next sweater. Oh, and by the way, I know I joked last week that I might not weave in the ends on this. I did. I wove in all of the ends on this once I finished the second sleeve, before I even did the collar band. So all my ends are woven in. But anyway, I did cast on the Beekeeper cardigan, which is a Marie Green pattern. And I'm knitting this out of my Ridgetop DK, which is my non-superwash base. This is the color. I'm using my warm honey color because that's perfect for a Beekeeper cardigan, I think, right? Love this color. And this is how far I have gotten. I've just gotten to the point of my first row of bees. I'm not sure how well you're going to be able to see them. You can't see them at all because that's the wrong side. This is a reverse stockinette on the outside sweater. So there's my bees. You really can't tell that they're bees right now. I think whenever you get up into the next column, the next row of them, they'll be more evident. But they're there and they're cute. So this is a fun pattern to knit. I really want to get this done before I go to Allentown to vend in a couple of weeks. I don't know what the temperature will be, but I would at least like to have this in my booth as a sample, even if I'm not wearing it. So we'll see how that goes. So far, the pattern is super well written. It's very detailed, actually. There's parts of it that in most patterns it would just say, do this and then repeat it or do as established or what have you. And this, she spells out everything. Almost to the point where I have to stop and really keep reading through each section over and over to make sure I'm at the right place. I think as I go, though, it'll get easier and I won't have to do that. But I'd rather have more information than not enough information on a sweater, to tell you the truth. I'm knitting it on US 6s, which is down 1 needle size from what she recommended, but I based that off of my swatch that I already showed you. Trying to decide which goes this direction. So this top two motifs, they were on 6s. This was on 7s. Really can't tell a huge difference. I never did actually block this, which is probably going to bite me a little bit at some point because I know this yarn's going to bloom. But I think it'll be fine. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. So yeah, that is the Beekeeper cardigan by Marie Green on my Ridgetop DK weight base, which is my non-superwash base that I love because it's really squishy. Lots of it in the shop right now. I'm going to start offering it in sweater quantities. You can always custom order a sweater quantity if you want one. I have several sweater quantities set aside that are undyed, so I can do custom orders in both this and the fingering weight version. So there's that. Other than that, I did not really knit on anything else. I did, however, go through my whips bin to see if there was another sock I was going to pull out, and as it turns out, I did end up totally ripping out the Merry and Bright Sock yarn that I had said I was probably going to rip out because it's not a base I carry anymore, and as much as I like the colors, I just don't feel compelled to knit it. So that's gone. The S'mores swirl socks that I had in there that I had just knit as a colorway sample and never finished and never did anything with, it only has like 3 or 4 rounds of ribbing, which wasn't enough to be a sock. So I did rip it back to the ribbing. I've not put it back on needles, but at this point I'm thinking it would just be easier to rip the whole thing out and start over than try to pick up those stitches. Not that picking up stitches is difficult, it's just time consuming, and it doesn't take long to cast 60 stitches on and knit 3 rounds of knitting, you know, of ribbing. So I may just do that, but I don't feel like I really want to knit that right now. So that's sitting in there. None of the other socks that are in there are really like calling to me, so I'm not worrying about them. And I honestly don't really have that many projects left in that. I mean, I do. I have a lot. I think I have 14. I counted the other day. I don't know. The next time I show you my spreadsheet, I can tell you for sure. But honestly, I had started the year out with 2 huge bins of whips, and I'm down to 1 bin. I consolidated. They all fit in 1 bin now, and that makes me feel so good. So yeah, I'm thrilled. And I also updated my yards that I've knit so far this year. I'm over 7,000 yards, which I'm over half of what I did in all of last year already, and it's only March. Isn't that crazy? I'm having a very prolific year. And I am really close to being done with my granny stripe Afghan. I keep working on it a little bit at a time. I am determined to get that done. As a matter of fact, I think that might be my next like lingering whip that just gets done. I'd like it to be finished so that we can use it. My husband even commented on it last night because I had it out working on it a little bit before he went to bed, and he's like, "That's really getting big." I said, "Yeah." I said, "I only have about, I don't know, 8 or 9 inches left to go, and it'll be done, and then we can put it on the bed and it'll go over both of us." And he's like, "Oh, well, that'll be nice." Because right now we have 2 Afghans on the bed, one on his side, one on my side. So it'll be nice to have one that we can both use. Plus that one's a little bit lighter weight than the 2 that I have on the bed now. And since it's getting a little warmer, that's probably better. Because it's still chilly here at night. We need something, but we don't need big heavy Afghans. So I'll probably concentrate on that as my next whip to knock out and finish. But I think I am actually going to let myself just cast on a pair of socks here soon, shorty socks, because I would like to get a couple pairs of shorty socks in my rotation that I can wear, you know, while it's still chilly enough to enjoy socks, but without needing really, really warm socks. All right, I did do some spinning though. I spun up and plied my next skein and a bit of my combo spin that I'm doing. So this is skein number 4. I did not bring the other 3 over here, but this little bit here was what was left on the bobbins because I had filled the bobbins too much yet again. I could not ply it all onto one jumbo. This is my sidekick that I have the jumbo bobbin on. I ply with this and I spin on my Ashford Traveler, which is over here, which this is the next bobbin that has that on it. I really only have, I think I'm going to get probably 2 more skeins. I think I'll probably end up with 2 more big skeins like this out of the fiber that I have. I thought I was going to end up with way more yarn than I would ever need, but honestly, I think that's going to be a good amount because right now I'm right around, I think, 1,400 yards of yarn, and that's probably enough to do a sweater, but I want to do kind of I'm going to do the Weekender. That's my plan. Andrea Mowry's Weekender, I think, is what I'm going to use this yarn for. It's a reverse stockinette sweater, which I think is funny because I'm not usually into reverse stockinette sweaters. And, oh gosh, I just dropped half of my Beekeeper here. The Beekeeper is a reverse stockinette, and the Weekender is a reverse stockinette sweater. But I've seen things knit out of this really barber pole kind of yarn before in reverse stockinette, and it looks really neat. So I think what I'll end up doing is I'll swatch for it and see what it looks like. But if it looks as cool as I think it will, I think that's what I'm going to do. But I want to make it longer than how it's written. I'd actually like it to almost be like a tunic length. So I'm going to just spin up all of this yarn. Hang on a minute. Sorry, I had to yell at a cat. Polly was scratching at the door, at the woodwork. He does that a lot. Anyway, yeah, I'm going to just spin up all this yarn. I'll have it for the sweater, and it'll be plenty. And I think it'll be a nice, big, cozy, yummy sweater. It's weird. I don't usually spin with anything specific in mind, so it's kind of fun to be spinning already having a good idea of what I want to do with the yarn. But it's very squishy. Again, I'm doing a traditional 3-ply, so you get all those colors all plied in there together. Fun stuff. So that is pretty much everything I've worked on. That's a lot. Plus I've been dyeing my head off lately downstairs in the studio because I've got so much to get ready for. Let's see, what else? Let's move on to the Craft What You Love Along. A few more days left. It ends on Sunday. So I will probably leave the finished object thread open through Monday just to give you a chance to get your pictures taken and post things. And then I will announce the winners for that next time I record. Having fun watching your pictures. I always enjoy that. Any along that we do, I always enjoy seeing all of your craftiness and what you're making. Aside from that, the Fiber Exchange and Spinalong. I finally got all of the information up about that. And let me find that page on Ravelry so I can talk you through it just a little bit. I would suggest going to the Fiber Nymph Dye Works group on Ravelry and just reading the thread if you want all of the information. Yeah, I do have it open. All right, so I've written everything out, what I'm thinking about how this will work. And I can't go through it all because it's kind of detailed, so please do read it. If you are one of the people who is interested in taking part in this, read that and let me know if you have any questions. I'm going to set up a sign-up questionnaire pretty soon, and then we will get things started. Essentially, the bottom line is we're going to have everybody sign up. I will pair you up with a partner based on the answers in your questionnaires because I want to try to pair up people who are, similar spinning skills, who say they take, if it takes you like a month to spin 4 ounces of yarn or fiber and it takes somebody else a week, I obviously don't want to pair you up. I would like to pair you up with somebody with comparable skills and spinning times and things like that, just so that you don't feel rushed or pressured. I want this to be a relaxing and fun thing to do in general, so I don't want anybody to feel pressured. My main timeline that I'm thinking of is I would like to have sign-ups up and then finished by the 19th of April. So that's, not quite a month away, a little less than a month, but it's still a good amount of time. I will then send out the partner assignments by the following week, and then I would like fiber that you're exchanging with each other to be mailed out to your partner by the 17th of May. So that's like a long period of time, I think, to get through all of this. You're only mailing 2 ounces. You're going to pick a 4-ounce braid for yourself, and you're going to split that in half, however you feel best splitting it in half, either lengthwise or just like pulling it apart. And you're going to send your partner half of it, and you're going to keep your half. And they're going to do the same thing. Send you half of theirs, whatever they pick, and they'll keep their half. And then you're going to both spin both of those portions of fiber. Not necessarily together. Like if you think they'll work together, great, but that's not the point. You're going to spin your 2 ounces of your fiber however you choose to. You're going to spin theirs however you choose to. Whatever you think would work best, whatever you want to do, whatever you want to experiment with. Maybe you want to spin it and then thread ply something. Maybe you want to spin it and ply it with another fiber that you have. Do whatever you want to do. Get creative. The whole point of this is for 2 people to be working with the same fiber and then be able to share and compare what they've done to see just how different it turns out. That's what always amazes me about fiber. You can have completely different people spinning the exact same fibers and you get such different results, and I think that's so much fun. Now when I say share, you're sharing in pictures. You're not sending anything back to them after you spin. That's not the point. Everybody's keeping their own spinning, whatever you've spun, unless you and your partner decide to do something different. But in the guidelines, like, I'm not asking you to return anything to anybody. As far as a date for the end of when the spinning should be finished, I'm leaving that pretty open-ended at this point because I don't want this to be something where people feel rushed, like you really have to get it done soon. And again, like maybe somebody does all their spinning on a drop spindle and someone else has an e-spinner. Like hopefully I wouldn't have to pair up people like that anyway, but you know, I just don't want one person who spins super fast to be sitting there waiting for the other person's results, if that makes sense. So I'm going to leave that sort of open-ended, and hopefully we'll be checking in throughout the whole spin along. My camera just shut off and I have no idea why. Hopefully my battery's not dying. I was talking about the spin along. I'm not sure at what point it decided to quit. Basically I was saying I'm not putting an end date on when all the spinning for the spin along needs to be finished until we get into it and see how long it's taking people. Then we'll just kind of play that by ear. But please do read that thread in the Fiber Nymph Dye Works group if you are interested in taking part in the fiber exchange and spin along. All right, that's everything I've got for you for 90% this week. Let me get back to my show notes down here on my laptop. On 10%, I really don't have a lot for you either. I will say I'm still listening to ologies. I know you're going to get really tired of hearing me talk about this, but this has been my go-to listening while I'm working lately and when I'm in the car because I've been downloading the episodes. They are just fascinating. And one that I really want to recommend to you is the Colology episode, which is beauty standards. It's about beauty standards. The woman she interviewed is Renee Engeln, Engeln, and that was from August 20th of last year, 2018. That was really a fascinating episode, talking about, you know, everything from, you know, body shape, you know, how we see ourselves. I know there's a word for that and I'm blanking on it right now. Makeup, the standards that women are put up to that men are not or held up to, not just in our country but across all societies. It was just fascinating and it's kind of depressing and maddening in a way, but just it was really good. I really enjoyed that episode. So if that is something that you're interested in, and you know, there was one thing about, you know, at what point does self-care cross a line and be like this oppressive like expectation of others? Like how much of what we do to make ourselves feel good about ourselves is really driven by what others are expecting of us. And, you know, I started thinking about that because, like, when I'm here during the day and I'm not going anywhere and I'm not recording the podcast, I don't generally do my hair and put makeup on. You know, I pull my hair back. It looks crazy, which is sort of why it's doing weird things today, because I didn't think I was going to be recording and I had it all pulled up weird. And then when I went to do it, it's like, no, I was way back here all day. I don't want to come up here. You know, and I don't put makeup on every single day. I'm just kind of looking. Sometimes, and it's funny, sometimes I will do my hair and put makeup on shortly before I know my husband's coming home. He doesn't care. Like, he would never say anything to me, but I feel like, you know, oh my gosh, I don't want him coming home and seeing me look like this, like, unmade up hag every single day. Oh my gosh, that's horrible. But why is that horrible? Like, why? What has taught me that that is a bad thing? That was, like, that's what that episode really started having me thinking about and questioning. Like, where does my own standard for what I should look like, what does that come from? Because I don't have super high beauty standards. Like, I like putting makeup on and doing my hair sometimes. Like today, I think I look okay. Like, I would go out in public like this. I feel fine, but I will also go out in public with no makeup on and without having done my hair. And I'm okay with that too. Like, people at the post office have seen me looking like a dog. And that's probably insulting to dogs. But again, like, where do we get that standard? I mean, I know where we get it because it's been ingrained in us as women. You know, we're supposed to look beautiful and acceptable all the time. And I know it's from my mother, who used to tell me, like, you should take care of yourself. You don't want your husband, like, wanting to look at other people. You know, just, and not that she was serious that would happen, but, like, it was a thought. And that's what she was taught, like, in her generation. You know, that was what was taught, whether directly or indirectly, you know, that it's our job as women to look lovely for our men. And there's so much wrong with that statement in general. But yeah, I don't know. It was a very thought-provoking episode, and I would highly recommend you listening to it if that's something that you're interested in. If it'll just make you angry and seething, then maybe not, because there's enough other stuff going on right now in life that can make us angry and seething, and we probably don't need more. But yeah, take that for what it's worth. Speaking of angry and seething, it was also the week that we did our taxes. Which really was not an angry, seething thing, because I have no idea if we're getting a refund back or if we're going to owe at this point. We usually get a refund, but this year, it's crapshoot. That's even what our accountant said. He's like, yeah, a lot of our clients who usually get refunds, they're having to pay this year, and they're not happy, and that big, beautiful tax break. But we're not going into angry and seething right now, so we won't go there. It was so funny, though, because I had spent 2 days before our tax appointment, like, making sure I had all of my business stuff all organized and all put together, all my expenses, everything. And I sat and I printed all these pages of stuff out to take with me to the accountant. And then I got to the accountant, met my husband there after work. We're sitting in the guy's office, and I'm like, oh, crap. I left everything I printed out sitting on the printer. I couldn't believe I did that. Nobody cared. He's like, just email it to me. And I'm like, okay. I couldn't believe I did that. Yeah. So that was 10%. Let's move on to shop news. I have my 8th anniversary shop update is happening tomorrow, Friday, March 29th. I may have said March 25th last time. March 25th was the anniversary date of my very first shop update. I did it March 25th, 2011. But March 29th is when I'm doing the 8th anniversary shop update. That's tomorrow. March 29th. Did I say 28th? Today's 28th. Tomorrow's 29th. Oh my gosh. Friday, March 29th at 6 p.m. Eastern is the anniversary shop update. As I said, I've already put together the preview slideshow. It's up on YouTube. It's like 1.5 minutes long. That's probably the best way to see a lot of things real quick. You already saw the anniversary colorways, but I'll show them to you again real fast in case you were jumping around the video. So these are my 2 anniversary colorways for this year. Inspiration and Positivity. Self-striping, and again, I have them on a bunch of different bases, including some heavier weight bases. I think I did worsted weight, my cozy worsted weight. I also did several of my self-striping colorways that are in the update. I did on my Ridgetop fingering, which is my non-superwash base. I know there are people out there who are really interested in trying socks on non-superwash. And if you like stripes and you like non-superwash, there you go. I didn't do a lot, but I did do a couple skeins of several of the different colorways just to see if you're interested. And honestly, you wouldn't have to use it for socks. You could do mitts or hats or whatever with it, but it's a fingering weight, non-superwash self-striping. I'm not sure how many of those are out there, but there's one for you if you want to give it a try. Okay, so things that I have in the shop aside from the anniversary colorways, I have some other self-striping. I did more of the dark to color, fill in the color fade sets or skeins. So this is dark to denim. I have more of this in the shop. And again, I did this on several different bases. This one is on cozy, but I did fingering through worsted weight in a bunch of different bases. So I have dark to denim. Then there is dark to toxic, the toxic green one. And this one is actually on the Ridgetop. So this is what it looks like on the Ridgetop fingering. I'm really happy with how it took the colors for the self-striping. They look really, really good. Sometimes they mute out a little bit, but most of them turned out pretty comparable to the non-superwash. And then I also did dark to raspberry, which I have done in the past as well, at least as a gradient. I'm not sure I ever did it as a self-striping. I may have. But anyway, and this one's on my Traveler Sport Wave. So again, those three are all on a lot of different bases. Then I did a couple of other self-stripings. I did just a small batch of last year's anniversary colorway, which was 7th Year Stitch. This one's on Bedazzled. So there'll be some of that in there, and then there's none of that on the non-superwash. I think I did this mostly on Bounce and Bedazzled, and I may have done Traveler Sport Weight. And then I have, I think, just like 4 skeins of the Color Play collection #1, the self-striping of that, and I think they're all on Bounce. So that's all of the self-striping in the shop this week. But I have, or this going into the shop, there's already other stuff in the shop. I have a new base that I am debuting, and I held on to it especially to be able to put it up for this update, for the anniversary update, and it is a yak blend base. Now, I don't have any of it left here, the undyed, because I dyed it all, to show you, but I will insert a picture here. Hopefully I will remember to do that right here. Hopefully you were able to see that. It is a beautiful, just very soft, warm, brownish oatmeal kind of natural color. And being that darker base color, it just lends a really deep warmth to any other color that you put over top of it. It's beautiful. And I did 5 different colorways. And I believe there are 4 skeins of each of these going into the shop. And I'm just so happy with how they turned out. And I named them all somewhat according to weather-related words. I don't know why, but that's what they started to remind me of, and so I just went with it. So this one is called Confluence, and this is a peacock blue into a brighter blue into this green. It's sort of a lime green, but as again, it's on that dark base, it mutes. And then there are areas that you're going to see the natural color kind of come through in some of the lighter areas, since they're semi-solid colors. So you'll get the darker color coming through instead of that lighter whitish color that you see on a natural colored white yarn, a white natural colored yarn. None of my yarn bases are like a bright bleached white, but you know what I'm talking about, hopefully. Like this white, like the white that's in here. And that's not even white because that is my Wisp colorway. Anyway, you know what I'm talking about. So this is Confluence. Then we have this one, which is called Dusk, which has a lot of deep purples into brighter purples into sort of a mauve, a dark mauve in there. And it just reminded me of, you know, what it looks like in the evening sometimes whenever the dark shadows are starting to move in. Okay, and then we have this one, which is called Sandstorm, and I love how this one turned out. This is another with browns and golds, and then you get into this lighter brown, and this is so pretty because it really does accentuate the natural color of the yarn. So where it comes through that natural color, it just really plays well together with the colors. Very happy with how that one turned out. This one is called Red at Night, for obvious reasons. We've got the red going into the grays and the darker gray, the graphite color, which again is just much darker than usual because it's on that base. And then lastly, we have Iridescence, sorry. And I called it Iridescence because of, you know how before a really bad storm moves in, sometimes the sky takes on that greenish color? That's kind of what this reminded me of. So I decided to go with that, Iridescence. So we've got darker greens into some bronzy greens, and then into this brighter. It's funny because I dyed this using this super bright green, but this is how it took on that darker base. Isn't that interesting? I'm always fascinated with how yarns play on different bases. It's just so different. And yet you can tell they're related. So anyway, so those are the 5 colors that I did on the yak base. And I'm calling the yak base my Linnaeus base. Now, there's an explanation for Linnaeus. You guys probably, if you remember high school science stuff, Linnaeus was, Carl Linnaeus was a biologist. He's basically known as the father of like taxonomy, or the scientific classifications that we give to organisms. And when I was trying to think of what I wanted to call this yak base, because yak just doesn't sound very exciting, and there's a lot of bases just named yak. So I wanted something a little bit more creative. Muffin, you want to settle down? So I thought, well, I wonder what like the scientific name of yak is. Well, I looked that up, and it's Bos Gunnerins or something. Grunnerin, I don't know. It wasn't something that I wanted to name my base. Let's put it that way. So I kind of went down the rabbit hole and started reading about yaks and, you know, trying to get some inspiration for what to call this base. And I saw that it was actually, Bos Grunnerins or whatever was the name given to yak by Carl Linnaeus. He actually gave them that scientific name. So I thought, well, that's interesting. So I thought, well, we'll call the base Linnaeus in honor of the fact that he was the one who gave them that name. And then I started reading more, and this kind of circuits into a total tangent. But this is amusing to me. So that particular scientific term, honey, please, oh my gosh. Okay, you want to come up here? I don't know why, but we'll bring you up here. Oh, please don't snag the sweater. Please don't snag the sweater. Okay, yeah, just sit here. You sit like this. There we go. Okay. Look at your face is so dirty. And you don't go to the groomers for another couple of weeks. No, you don't. Oh my gosh. You don't. She's being very patient. Usually she'd be like whining and wiggling by now. Look at those eyes. Hello. Oh, there's my puppy. She's getting old. I worry about her because sometimes when she gets out of bed, like her back end doesn't want to work right, and I'm so afraid that she's gonna have that spinal thing happen that old dogs get where they can't use their back legs. And I said to my husband the other day, I'm like, if that happens, will you build her like wheels that she can like be strapped to? And he's like, we just put dogs he didn't say put dogs down, but he basically said he just sort of euthanized them at that point. I'm like, you can't do that. You can build her wheels. We don't want to think about that, do we, Muffin? Yeah, I know. Sorry, I just plunked you down there. Hey, so technology is hating me today. I realized while I was processing the video or editing it that I had left out a whole chunk that I needed to tell you about during the shop news segment. So I came in here probably about an hour ago, recorded it, went in, continued processing the video, and then when I got to this point and I tried to insert the video, I realized it only recorded half of it. It left out the whole beginning part. So here I am again, and we're going to try this once more. It's like 3 hours later than it was when I first started recording this podcast, which is why it's probably darker, and I've got other lights on, and now you can see all the purple in my hair. I don't think I told you. I got some purple highlights in my hair a few weeks ago. Anyway, so the part that I left out was I needed to let you know the informational page about the Holiday Harmony Countdown collections, which I did tell you about last week. That page is now up on the Fiber Nymph Dye Works website. So if you go to fibernymphdyworks.com, if you look up in the menu bar up at the top, there is a link now that says Holiday. If you click on that, that will take you to the informational page about those Holiday Countdown collections for 2019. I'm not going to go into all the details because I did tell you a good bit about it last week. Just know that all of the information that you need to know about the different collections that are available are up there. All the pricing's up there, and all of the payment options are up there. These collections this year are good bit different than ones I've offered the past couple of years. So it's really important that you read so you know what the options are and what you're going to be getting. One of the biggest changes that I'm making this year is how you do the pre-order for it. Because there are so many options this year and you can customize your collection to be pretty much what you want it to be as far as yarn base and about what you're getting and how you're paying. It would be impossible for me to facilitate that through just a single shop listing. So instead, I'm going to do it by a questionnaire, which is very similar to how I do my club signups. You fill out the questionnaire. Once I get the questionnaire, I will send you a confirmation email letting you know that I got your questionnaire. I have your responses. I will confirm what it is that you want to order for your holiday collection, your mini collection. And I will then also send you a request for payment through PayPal for whatever it is you are actually ordering. It's going to vary widely. I tried to make it so that it can be very accessible to a lot of people, both price-wise and the type of yarn options there are. You can do 24 days, which is, well, they're all 24 days. All the collections are 24 days this year. I have 3 different fingering weight options. You can do all bounce, all bedazzled, or you can do a combo collection, which is Bounce, Bedazzled, Mountain Tweed, and Heavenly, which is my MCN base. Or you can choose a 4th option, which is a DK weight mini skein collection, which I've never done before for the holidays. And I thought that would be kind of fun because not everybody's into fingering weight yarn, but you might have something you want to do with DK weight minis. And so that will be a combo collection only. There's no single base option for the DK weight. And that's my Bonafide base, my Beguiled base, which is the sparkly DK, and the Mountain Tweed DK. So those are all the yarn choices. You also end up with a choice if you want to get a full skein for your 25th day. You don't have to, but you can. And if you do choose that, you can choose that out of any of those bases, regardless of what you get for your mini collection. The full skeins will be self-striping, an exclusive colorway that won't be in the shop or anywhere else for at least a year. If any time I put it anywhere, it won't be for at least a year. A lot of times my exclusive colorways, I never dye again. And then the minis, the 24 minis will all be variegated, tonal, and or speckled. So that's another option. The full skein is an option. And then how you pay is an option as well. Traditionally, you just, you order the set and you pay for the whole thing up front, which you can do. And if you choose to do that, you will get a 10% discount off of your total, not including shipping. Shipping is not discountable. However, if it makes it more budget friendly for you to divide your payment into 2 payments instead of paying for it all at one time, that is also an option. You can split your payment in half, pay half in April, half in May. You don't get the discount that way, but it might make it easier for some people. So I wanted to provide that as an option as well. So all of the other details are up on the website. If you have any questions, please let me know. I will be putting, oh my gosh, mayhem is breaking out behind me. I gotta hurry up. I will be putting the link to the questionnaire up on the top of that page soon. It will not, the questionnaire itself will not be active until April 1st, however. April 1st is when you can start signing up for your pre-orders for those collections. But the signups are going to be open all through the month of April. So don't feel like you have to rush and first thing April 1st you have to do it. You have the whole entire month. I'm not putting limits on the collections unless I get some really crazy number of orders. Then I may have to limit them later on in the month. But I'll definitely let you know that. Yeah, so please check that out. I think all of the information you need is up on the website. If you have any questions, feel free to email me, fibernymph@gmail.com. Okay, now back to the rest of the podcast that I recorded 3 hours ago. Oh, really important thing. There is a 10% discount that I'm offering for the weekend. So basically it's actually active right now through the weekend, through Sunday. Use the coupon code ANNIVERSARY, all capital letters. It'll give you 10% off your entire order. It's just my way of saying thank you, because I wouldn't be having an 8th anniversary if it wasn't for you guys. And I just want to say thank you, thank you, thank you. And I hope that helps you. If nothing else, it defrays shipping for you or something. I was going to do a free shipping code, but then I was trying to figure that out in my program, and it's like, I don't know how to do that. That is like really complicated, and I had to set up separate codes and things. I thought, this is just easier. I'll just give you 10% off. Okay, so I think that's everything. I did not share my new things with you. I do have some new stuff, but I'll catch those next week. I'm not going to do that now. Anyway, I hope you have a good rest of your week. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you again for being with me for 8 years if you've been here. And if you've only recently joined in, thank you so much for being interested. And I hope you are enjoying the craziness that is my podcast. And if you shop the update, thank you so much, at least even for looking, even if you don't end up buying anything. I just appreciate your interest. So take care, and I'll talk to you again hopefully next week. Bye.